Liquorland are proud partners of the Sash, and they have some great deals on local reds right now. Damo, are you partial to a nice red?
Well, you bet I am, Rob. In the winter months, I'm a big fan of a red, maybe a lovely Pinot Noir with the Spag Bowl or something a little heavier like a Shiraz by the fire. So it's perfect this time of the year.
And if you're not a wine drinker, then Liquorland has you covered with plenty to choose, including international beers. If you're going to be picking up an international beer, Dame, what part of the world are you heading to?
Well, surely I'm heading to Japan while the Olympics are on at the moment. So maybe I'll get a beautiful crisp bottle of Asahi, or potentially otherwise I'd head to Europe for a beautiful, tasty Peroni from the motherland, Italy.
And, of course, you can also sign up today to get alerts on when your favourite drinks are on special and get $10 off your first purchase. For great deals on a wide range of alcohol, go to liquorland.com.au or visit your local store. Please drink responsibly. T's and C's apply. See online for details. Alrighty, let's start the show.
I mean, it's nothing new that I'm the one who's carrying this podcast anyway, so...
Simply must play.
There's nothing more likely than a bloke who takes a hanger missing a set shot straight after it.
Yeah, give it a listen.
Acting as if it's like a normal thing to do with salt and vinegar chips.
I'm in a mood, Rob.
How is this the little bonus content with Kevin Sheedy?
Who are we playing this week?
Who cares?
I reckon I'm 0 for 3 with creating segments at the moment.
For the love of God, don't lose to Carlton.
A Sunday night stroll turns sour as a lacklustre effort squanders our chances for a top 8 spot. This is the Sash, definitely not the official podcast of the Essendon Football Club. I'm your host, Rob, here with you, and joining me on Zoom is Damo and Mert. Damo, hello, how are you?
Shithouse, Rob. Absolutely shithouse after yesterday's performance. I've been stuck in isolation for about a week now, and that's been better than what the players served up yesterday.
Sounds pretty dark, mate. Murdy, hello.
Hey, Rob. How are you?
I'm okay, mate. I'm okay. How are you?
Yeah. This is more like it, isn't it?
This is back to usual programming here on the Sash podcast. That's for sure. Yeah. Look, definitely a bit of a flat vibe going around tonight. It really is the hope that kills you, because it'd been okay results for a few weeks, and coming off, I guess, the losses to Geelong and Melbourne, and then a little bit of hype around us, and suddenly we're in the 8, and just that's what happens. You know, the AFL Record does an article about Essendon, and what do? We absolutely bottle it.
Burden of expectation, Rob.
Yes.
It's what it is, and it's an all too familiar feeling as Essendon supporters in July, so... Yeah, happy days. Here we are again.
Yeah. Look, we'll jump straight into it. There's a lot of different ways we can look at this game and what went wrong. I'll start back on Friday, and we'll start at the selection table, because I think this was definitely a factor. It wasn't the sole factor, but definitely was a factor.
That was a significant factor, I'd say, Rob.
Yeah. So the changes that were made was that Dylan Shiel and David Zaharakis came in for Alec Waterman and Matt Guelphy. Shiel hadn't played a game since round 2, whereas David had been in and out of the team most of the year through either injury or form. I think a lot of people were very surprised with the selections we made. Look, Waterman's been pretty promising all season. Maybe the last month wasn't that great, but I think he offers a lot. And then Matt Guelphy had come off probably one of the better games he's ever played. I think it was genuine surprise amongst the Essendon faithful, because I think one of the things we've sort of seen this year is selections that I think a lot of people sort of backed in. What was your thoughts on Friday, Damo, when you saw those changes?
Look, I initially was shocked with Shiel. I think people on the podcast would have heard from Thursday. It baffled me. Guelphy played so well, and then also Waterman, you take him out of the game, and then you probably force Stringer to play more time in the forward line, rather than him playing more midfield time yesterday as well. And Shiel just didn't look ready. He was lost. At some stages of the game, I actually forgot he was generally playing. Zaharakis bobs up for one easy goal and two good kicks throughout the game. Well, that's it. But yeah, just wasn't up to it, and the intensity that those players brought wasn't there at all. And we know what sort of intensity someone like Guelphy brings on the field and Waterman himself. So I think we miss them.
Yeah.
I mean, long term, we definitely want someone like Dylan Shield on the field, but I think they just felt rushed.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree. Like, you know, you go through some of the stats of their performances. We'll stick with Shield for the moment, and yeah, you're spot on. Long term, Dylan Shield's the best 22 player, but 13 disposals, 4 tackles, 1 behind, 2 clearances, 2 turnovers. Like, yeah, that's a guy who hasn't played a lot of footy in a while, and you'd think coming into a game that was so vital and so important if we are going to play finals this year, that you'd think you'd run a guy through the twos who hasn't played since March or early April, whenever round 2 was. Mert, what's your take?
Yeah, I think a huge reason why we lost that game was straight down to the selection table. And I mean, I'll just start with Waterman because I'm a really big fan of Waterman and seeing what he's put together for us this year. And he plays an interesting role because it's in many ways it's quite similar to Paco. And I think he's got capacity to move through the midfield, and I think he's done that at times through the VFL and had a couple of stints kind of up through the midfield. But I mean, we're talking about a guy 2 weeks ago, and I've just got up his stats here. He's a guy who had 18 possessions playing on a half-forward flank 2 weeks ago. So, I mean, there's that, and then we'll just look at Matt Guelphy, and he had 17 disposals last week. For the life of me, I just can't understand what the rationale in dropping either of those 2 players was, and bringing in not so much Shield. I can understand Shield because, I mean, he didn't perform as well as he probably would have liked on the weekend, but I think those kind of guys, there's probably not that much point, taking into account the fact that he was injured very, very early on in the season. He had a minor setback, which the club hasn't actually explicitly acknowledged to the fans.
Yeah.
He's been out for a significant period of time, and I think when you've got, a really limited twos competition as well, there's probably limited plus side in actually getting him running around in the twos as well. So I can kind of understand that, but I for the life of me, I just can't understand why the selection of David Zaharakis over Matt Guelphy.
Yeah.
I just can't understand it.
I mean, in my eyes, it was pretty straightforward. You bring Shield in, don't make him play, straight in the centre of the midfield, pop him on the wing for Ham. There would have been a straight swap there and leave the other 2 in and not play Zaharakis. I think it would have been.
Yeah, I don't think you can drop Will. I don't think you can drop Braden Ham after his performance last week, though. I mean, he was horrible yesterday, I thought, but last week he played his best game for a really long time, and he was actually quite instrumental in getting us over the line in the end.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I thought you can't drop a player off that kind of performance, but at the same time, I think those selections in the end, and particularly the selection of Zaharakis, I think was one of the key reasons why we lost that game. When you're not only carrying, a Zaharakis through the game because he really has no effect at all on the outcome of the game, but you're also carrying, a Devon Smith in the forward line, a Tipper who played one of the worst games I've ever seen anyone play.
Yeah.
I mean, Archie Perkins started well, but at the end of the day, he had 7 possessions for the game, and that's another bloke who's supposed to be applying pressure in the midfield in the forward line, and I'm just not seeing it at all at the moment. So that's just a handful of guys, and then you kind of add in a Shield who's had no effect on the game. You add in a Mason Redmond who played his worst game for a very long time, even though he's having a great season, but he played a pretty bad game. You add in, I mean, as I said yesterday on our chat, we had 4 blokes who got over 15 possessions.
Yeah, it's diabolical.
That is so telling, and just we also had 7 players who didn't lay a tackle. 7 players who didn't lay a tackle.
Yeah.
For a team that got killed in the possession of the ball and then didn't manage to lay a fucking tackle as well. That's a huge variance in what the expectations must be. And if we're talking about this supposedly, working class, blue collar game plan that Truck is saying that he's putting forward, then there's a huge gap in what's actually being produced and even what's being produced at the selection table. Because if you are playing a blue-collar game plan, you don't opt for a David Zaharakis or a downfield Devon Smith over a Matt Guelphy.
Yeah.
After Matt Guelphy's performance last week or after Waterman's performance 2 weeks ago. So, and it's, to be honest, and this is becoming a rant, but I don't really give a shit. It's a full administration of the club kind of fucking take a look at yourselves and explain this shit to the members kind of stuff. Because for Xavier Campbell to sit back and just accept that we're up in the fucking Queensland when we're playing for a finals position and the kind of positive impact that could have on our young playing group and galvanise them in playing together in Melbourne when we've had a shocker of a fixture today and we're finally getting our fucking crack in Melbourne and all of a sudden we fucked off when we're off to Queensland and fucking hell, we're so happy to accept it yet again, another season yet again. Like Xavier Campbell, fucking do something. Do something. Like truck, actually take a mirror to yourself and look at your team selection. Look at the fact that there was no plan B. Like we got absolutely killed in tactics yesterday. We got killed with our selection, killed at the table with tactics. We had no response for it, and then we got killed in the midfield as well.
Yeah, you're spot on, Mert. Lot of points to pick you up on there. We'll start with the Guelphy discussion. Like, you know, we're not here heralding a bloke who's a match-winning player, but he's the epitome of this blue-collar brand we're supposed to be playing. And the thing I felt is I felt we were very one-paced in that team. You speak about an underdone Shield, you speak about Zaharakis, you speak about Devon Smith, you speak about Tim Moody, who just had the worst game of his career. But those three guys prior to that I mentioned, like Shield, when he's at his best, he's a jet, but he wasn't moving like he does. And then you got two other guys who, sometimes will lay some okay tackles, but really aren't that physical. Whereas at least with Guelphy, you know that bloke, he might butcher the footy. He's going to throw himself relentlessly at it. And in a game where the Giants' tactic from half-time was to play keepings off, it's probably good to have a guy who's just going to throw himself at the ball because basically after half-time, their whole strategy was we're just going to hold the ball away from Essendon. They're going to sit back in their zone, which wasn't working very well, and then we'll give it to Lockie Whitfield, who Kevin Sheedy said is the best kick he's ever seen, and he's going to pick us apart, and that's what they did. So that's my point on the Guelphy situation. The venue one's an interesting one. Like, it's shit, and I agree with you, Mert. I agree that that more should be done to make sure the club's looked after and we get a better fixture. But I don't think it can be used as an excuse to lose. For this match in particular, if we were playing against maybe a Western Australian side or an Adelaide side, and that was where our away game were. But so right now we've played 9 games in Victoria, 9 games interstate. GWS have played 6 games in either New South Wales or ACT because they play some games at Monaca. They've played 11 games interstate. So
there was no excuses.
Also 12.
But I mean that's also the nature of interstate sides. Of course, they're going to play like a significantly higher number of interstate games than what we are because the majority of the games, of course, the nature of the AFL is that the majority of the games are going to be in Victoria anyway. So there's a huge difference between that and then our players being told to pack up their bags at from 9 a.m. at 3 p.m. they're getting a flight interstate and they don't know how long they're going to be there. And then all of a sudden we're playing on this shithole of a ground. We're staying in, this is what got me, we're staying in Noosa, which is a fucking long way away from the Gold Coast. And then we're getting to the Gold Coast on this shithole of a ground that's already had a game played on it that day, the past 2 weeks that's happened. And apparently we're training on like a high school ground. Like the facilities are appalling and we're just sitting here and copying it.
Yeah.
Like why did we play North Melbourne in Queensland last week? When Collingwood and Carlton played in the MCG that day?
Makes no sense.
I have no idea, but we can't use it as an excuse because we got gifted the opportunity of playing GWS with a very, very depleted bloody side. And all we had to do was rock up and show some intensity. Our defensive running, it was non-existent yesterday. Every time we would turn it over, their transition offense, two, 3 kicks maximum, they would have a mark inside 50. It was just so simple. It was just hard to watch. And when we've got our finals chance on the line on this game, you would have expected everyone would be giving 110%.
Yeah.
But not one person out there gave 110% yesterday.
Just a quick...
Absolutely. And like just to be clear, I'm not making an excuse based on our effort and on our performance yesterday, because I thought it was appalling. But my point was more that there's parts of every part of the football club, more or less, that can take the blame for that loss yesterday.
Yeah.
And one of them's the administration.
Yeah, like the thing that stands out for me, and I think you remember, maybe it was a Bulldogs game. I want to say it was a Bulldogs game early in the season, maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, where they had some stupid amount of marks against us. Maybe it was 2018. I'm going to try and pull it up. But that's what it reminded me of.
Probably the time that they kicked 21 goals straight against us.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't that game.
No, that was it. That was another game.
That was another game where we got belted. No, here we go. So it was round 3, 2018. The Bulldogs had 152 marks in that game. We had 80. They played keepings off footy in that game. We applied 0 pressure. That game, not as weighted, but it was 139 marks to 89. And I know a lot of those are kicks going sideways and going switches, but they played keepings off footy because we played a sloppy, lazy zone where too often than not you see players sort of point at each other being like, yeah, you go this space, you go this space. And yeah, part of it is a coaching directive because you're playing a zone. You're not actually just taking an individual man. But surely there's a point in time where either a player who's a leader in this team or at least someone in the coaching panel can just sit there and go, you know what? Maybe we should stop letting Lachie Whitfield run around half back by himself doing whatever he wants because there was no forward pressure on him whatsoever.
Yeah, and that was a real frustration that I had during the game as well because it's something that's really been quite a consistent theme this year that teams are doing something and we seem to have no way of stopping it or really no intention to stop it. And whether that's actually sending a negating player to someone or, you know, having someone perhaps go to it. Like we've seen Darcy Parish with the tag the last 3 weeks and he hasn't done very well. You know, I'd love to see someone go out and just clean up that bloke who's tagging it.
Yeah.
Help him out. But, I mean, from a coaching perspective, I can't remember the last time I saw like an Essendon tactical move other than shifting Cale Hooker forward from defence that's actually had a substantial effect on the game. I can't even remember a tactical move at all. I'm not sure we've made one this entire year.
I think there was the one where we put Nick Hind forward in the third quarter and we got ahead of someone. But apart from that, there hasn't been too much adjustment.
Yeah.
So frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I think a lot of teams have worked out in our game plan, it's been that way for a while, is we love to play corridor footy. And if you choke the middle of the ground, then we suck at moving it. And that's what happened. Like, you saw how stagnant our ball movement was. And yeah, you do need someone running past to give the overlap, give the handball, get the game moving. But we like to play corridor footy. And that was
I don't know about that because I haven't seen it for so long. And what I have seen is I've seen us, and we did it again yesterday where we were open, we were out. And I know like Duzza looks like he's a real find for us and a good player. But I know he did it a couple of times and 7-seater Peter did it a few times as well. But, I mean, basically I've seen everyone on the list do it where they have the ball, it's front of centre, you know, kind of just forward of the wing or even on the half-forward flank, and we have the option, we get it, kind of take a mark, 10 metres clear, we get the option to move it forward and actually run forward and kind of break the lines and make something happen, and instead we hold it and we stop, and we just stand on the mark and look around, and then eventually someone comes to us and we go back off the mark and we reset and we lose the opportunity. And it's just like, I don't know what the coaching directive is, because a couple of weeks ago I was thinking, okay, we're clearly being directed to hold the ball up so that we don't get done the other way, which I think is counterintuitive anyway, because you're taking your natural attacking flair out of the game, which is something that could actually benefit us. But we're still getting killed the other way anyway.
Yeah.
And what we're essentially doing is just taking away our opportunity to score. That's all we're doing.
Yeah.
That happened so often yesterday. There was one where Perkins had it on the wing and he could have just gone or kicked it forward, held it up, let 18 GWS players get in front of him.
Yeah. He was also one of the few people who did take it on at times. He did that one play on the wing where he did move around a few people and got a real good ball inside 50.
That was a great one.
Then helped out. I think Alistair Lynch mentioned on the commentary that, and you're right, Mert, you see a lot of now our footballers is we're just moving it slowly and then we end up doing a really short, dinky kick to someone just sort of outside 50 towards the boundary. And yeah, look, GWS were woeful in front of goal. We were too, but part of the reason is you got guys who are taking set shots from 45 out on the boundary time and time again. Yes, there were some way easier ones that should have been hit, but it seems like that's what we're doing. And there was, I think I can think of 3 or 4 times where we actually did hit someone in the corridor. One of them was Zaharakis who did it, but it just seems like we're just getting pushed towards the boundary, whether that's by our own choice to do so or it's just the other teams taking away that option. And then we're going, all right, cool, we're just going to just try and get someone inside 50 with a short kick and hope they can nail it from there. But it hasn't worked.
Yeah. I think another couple of things on that. I think actually I'll start with the other one first. We've been found out to a certain extent with Nick Hine because teams are shutting him down. They're shutting him out of the game and that's killing our run because we are very heavily reliant on him as basically the only quick bloke we've got in that, that back line. I mean, take away probably Mason Redmond. Jordan Ridley's still playing, I feel, pretty unheralded, outstanding football. He was my best player on the weekend.
Ridley was great yesterday.
Yeah.
He was great. And, I mean, Redmond's played really good footy. Didn't have his best game on the weekend, but we really are relying on Hine to play, I guess, what was Adam Sard's role last year.
Yeah.
The second thing I wanted to say was just that when this was the most noticeable part of our game for me, it was as soon as the ball hit the ground, it was almost like we were simultaneously drawn like bees to a honeypot to the ball, but we weren't actually contesting the ball first.
Yeah.
So there is a number of times in the contest where we had too many players at the contest and it'd come out to GWS and they'd get one handball out and they'd be released and it'd be see you later. But within the inside of the contest, we would have 3 or 4 blokes just sitting back, like right in the contest, the ball's in arm's reach and they just weren't getting the ball.
Yeah.
And I reckon for the second half of the game, probably 3/4 of the game, we just didn't seem to be able to win a single ground ball at all. We were absolutely demolished, and that was only compounded in the forward line by the fact that we're playing a bunch of injured, old, slow blokes as our smalls. So surrounding, and I mean, I don't think Cale Hooker really helped our cause because he seemed completely reluctant to even bring the ball to ground, and he needs to stop faking for fucking marks. He needs to stop taking himself out of marking contests because it absolutely kills us. But as soon as the ball hit the ground, we were just non-effectual.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't help. Like, I just found their, big bullish midfielders just pushed us around. Like Hopper, Taranto, Tom Green just pushed everyone over anytime we came near it. And like there was a few times I had good tackles. Dylan Schill had a really good tackle at one point. I was just like, oh wow, good. Just like that's like a really good tackle. I think Zaharakis did one as well. But like for the most part, you're right, Mert. It just seemed that it would go to ground. There was nothing there. And yeah, I don't know what was going through Anthony McDonald, Tip Moody's mind yesterday, or if there's something carrying over. But I haven't seen a guy not want to go near the footy more in my life. And I don't understand why the guy who's probably the best shot inside 50 is dishing them off.
Passing it up.
And you got blokes...
That was unforgivable for mine because, we've seen him do it before and I think he's been really good this year at actually taking that shot. But first of all, when he got the ball, he was he's in kind of 15 metres of space. He could have run into goal and actually made something happen. Obviously, he had a bloke between him and the goals, but he could have been proactive and he could have made something happen out of it, and you'd back him in to do that. He held onto the ball and then he didn't get it off soon enough and then just completely fucked it, really. It was just
the forwards did that all day, though. I mean, Tipper missed that set shot from directly in front. Then he passed off that under 15-metre kick to Devon. We missed that opportunity. Another goal on the counter.
Cale missed that sitter.
Cale Hooker missed 2 goals on not very tight angles and 30 metres out.
Yeah.
Paco missed that goal at the end of the last quarter completely.
Himmelberg missed everything.
Yeah, it was just he did, didn't he? We had the opportunity was there for the taking, and we just didn't execute it, and it was tough to watch. I mean, Nick Cox almost got me out of my chair when he hit the post.
That would have been so
good. Did get out of my chair, and, but apart from that, there wasn't too much to be excited about yesterday.
No,
we kicked one goal.
When he missed that.
Yeah. We kicked 1 goal in a half of football.
Yeah,
I mean,
which is
appalling.
It's atrocious.
A team pushing for finals. That's just disgusting. We didn't deserve the win, so we got what we deserved.
I'll ask you this: is this a young team that's run out of gas or running out of gas? I mean, we obviously did win last week, but it wasn't pretty. Truck himself said in the press conference, we're not going far in finals playing like we have in the last 2 weeks. Is this a team running out of gas?
Not too sure. I just feel like we're losing our identity. I just feel like not all the players are on the same page. Potentially some of the younger players might be gassing out. I thought Coxie did start really well yesterday. He popped up for a little bit. I mean, it's tough. It's tough to ask, these young kids that haven't played football at all last year to be doing what they've been doing. But, I mean, if giving them a break is what we need, then give them a break. I'm happy to try anything.
Yeah, I wouldn't understate the kind of toll that the unknown and this trip up north is going to be doing on that young side. So I think there's certainly got to be an element of fatigue generally, I think, on the season, irrespective of where we were playing, even if we're in Melbourne. I think there's definitely got to be that on such a young side. But I mean, being away from your family and all the unknowns that accompany that, and as I said before, the kind of facilities, the kind of training that we're seeing versus what we're used to back in Melbourne, it's far from ideal. So it's definitely going to be having an impact. Yeah, no, it does seem that time on the road, long season, young, inexperienced bodies, so many guys who are playing their first, second season of footy, guys who probably haven't had this much opportunity at first team footy and are playing, 15 to 20 games, in a row. It is going to take a toll, and we don't have that many experienced bodies who are used to backing it up. I guess one of the things that sort of frustrated me is that, we've seen for the past 6 or 8 weeks that basically, Merritt and Parrish rock up. They both or one of them gets 30 to 40 touches, and then we're kind of in it. This was a scenario where those 2 guys were completely taken out of the game. Paco was taken out of the game, and there was no one else. Yes, we've got guys who are injured or a bit old and overdone, but it showed that there's a bit of a lack of a gap there. Yeah, right, McGrath and Caldwell can come back in some stage, but there was no one there stepping up. Yeah, for me, the more worrying thing is the other end of the stick. It's the bottom. And I think my stats were a little bit off before because I was going off the AFL app, which I think probably tends to stop at 3/4 time or something with me for some reason. But, I mean, we've got so many players who are sitting there under 15 disposals and, even under kind of 10 disposals, there's just so much, and it's week in, week out. I feel like we're dragging through the same names again each week, and a couple of them might have a good game one week, but then the next week they're back down to 6 or 7 disposals for the week. And I just don't think if you're going to be you can have 6 or 7 disposals if 4 of them are goals as a forward pocket. You can't have 5 disposals if you get 1 kick for a half.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't work. And I mean, just looking at Tipper's game as well, and I don't think we need to, overstate this, because he had a down week, but it is emblematic of what the team performing really poorly, because everyone talks about him being a barometer for the team and all of that kind of stuff. And whether he is or not, that's a completely other discussion to be had. But at the end of the day, he's a small forward who's probably the only small forward we have there who's actually applying pressure when he is.
Yeah.
He didn't lay a tackle.
No. He was running past the footy. I watched it. I was like, what's he doing? Like, is he just misjudged it? Is he not wanting to commit? Is he just off? Like, it just didn't seem like him. I mean, Connor Iden, whoever the GWS, he gave him a bath, plain and simple. Like, that old meme of, he's emptied his pockets. Well, Tiffin Woody was in him. Like, he destroyed it completely. The Tiffin Woody who can hit a bloke hard, who is an absolute nugget, wasn't there to be seen. And there's a few blokes who are in that category.
The other thing for me as well, and this kind of goes back to what we're talking about, or what I was talking about with that forward line pressure and all these blokes who are supposedly, they're pretty similar, playing pretty similar roles, which I feel is a very non-effective role in that they're not actually doing it whatsoever. Yeah. And I'll coin this in a kind of positive way, because we've got Dyson Heppel, who's laid 4 tackles. We've got Zach Merritt, who's probably our best ball winner, who's laid 7 tackles. Snelling, who's laid 6. Darcy Parish, who's laid 6. Dylan Shield, who's laid 4.
Yeah.
So all of those guys are ball winners. All of them are ball winners. They're the ones who are laying the tackles. The next best beyond that is we've got blokes who are laying 2 and 1. And the blokes who are laying 2 and 1 are 0 are blokes who are in the team who are basically there to try and lay pressure. Like that's what we're being told their roles are. They're not getting the ball, so it's got to be their roles.
Yeah.
Smith had 2 tackles.
Yeah.
Yeah, Devon's had 2. I mean, is that really... I don't think that's good enough. I don't think that's it's certainly not to the standard that he had 2 years ago.
Yeah. He was the number 1 tackler, or up there as,
in the comp.
Top 3 tacklers in the comp, and now he's just up there at the top player giving away free kicks.
And I mean, this will be an unpopular opinion, but Archie Perkins has had 1 for the game. And I mean, I love Archie. He's, my password for most things currently. So if anyone ever wants to break into anything, feel free. But I mean, he's there as, he's obviously a mid-sized forward. He'll be pushing up into the midfield, and he's said he wants to push up into the midfield through his career. No doubt he will, but he's there to lay pressure as much as he is to, kick goals and, do the nice, classy stuff. So 1 tackle again. We can't keep playing this forward line, which is supposedly, the forward line has to make up for the height and the lack of mobility of someone like Hooker and Peter Wright, who's not going to lay a heap of tackles. And when we've got Harry Jones as well, it means that we've got to play smalls who are actually going to tackle and lay pressure.
Exactly.
And a huge reason why it's coming out so quickly the other way is because we're playing smalls who are not doing any of that.
Exactly.
They're not playing their role whatsoever. So there's got to be a huge amount of pressure. And I really think we've said it before, but I really think if Truck was serious about this, Devon Smith would have been dropped weeks ago.
Yeah. Yeah, I am with you there. I'll just pick up a point on Devon. So you guys may or may not have seen this. So post game last night on his Instagram, Dev shared a private message of an Essendon supporter, fan, whatever term you want to call them, sending him a negative message saying that he wished that Devon was injured and wasn't playing. Now, look, I want to say that's not on. This may seem hypocritical from a podcast that can be quite rude, quite blunt, talk a fair bit of shit about players in this team. But, this is a show where people come who are Essendon supporters, Essendon fans, and they know they're going to hear, blunt, unbiased opinions of people who speak their mind about the club. But there's a difference between us doing that here, where players and coaches aren't coming to listen to this show, versus sending people direct messages, to insult them, especially when they are our players. So
send them to Callan Ward.
Yes, you can send them to Callan Ward.
Especially when it's like a serious thing. You don't wish an injury upon any of our players, only the opposition ones.
Yeah.
No, that's a joke as well.
Yeah, but you get my point. You get my point.
Obviously, yeah, absolutely. I think it was one of the kicks at the end of the last quarter that probably angered that fan. I think he turned it over, and he's a frustrating player at the moment. But that's simply not on. So we don't condone that at all.
I'll give you one.
It's in all seriousness, it's pretty cowardly to be doing that kind of stuff. And I mean, all the baggage that these guys have, they're also interstate when no doubt they don't want to be. So last thing they need is getting bullshit hate mail from a coward behind a keyboard.
Yeah, exactly.
And especially Devon's had a serious injury last year as well and coming back. So
yeah. I just want to quickly I thought Will Snelling was pretty decent as well for the day, so I thought I could get him a shout out along with Ridley.
Our two mid-season draft picks, Rob.
Him and Duz.
I loved Duz.
Yeah, we all love a Duzzer.
How good was that little hip and shoulder? Like just really using his hip and getting rid of, I think it was Taranto.
Yeah.
And then just getting the recovery, getting the hands out as well. It was something we seriously lacked yesterday.
Yeah.
Probably the only blue-collar player out there, Duzzer.
Yeah, he is very blue collar. Last one, boys, before we take a break, they have just announced the game for this weekend. We're playing at the Gabba on Saturday night against Sydney. So they haven't done anything about that. We're staying in Sydney for, and I was going to say, staying in Queensland for another week. I'm sure our Queensland listeners and fans are stoked that they're going to be able to go to the game, but it is obviously unfortunate that the players will have to spend another week outside of Melbourne. So at least at the Gabba,
for a week though, we can confirm.
Well, it's confirmed that we're playing the Swans at the Gabba.
Yep.
That's confirmed. So, and then we're going to come back for 1 week, and then guess what? We're going back to the Gold Coast to play the Suns. So who knows? Maybe to help Essendon out, they'll change the fixture and give us an extra home game in Melbourne. But you know what? That's not going to fucking happen. So anyway,
or you know what? I'd happily take the interstate games now, as long as they look after us next year.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Why would they do that when we just so happily take it and ask for more and then accept it next time again?
Yeah,
we've just hit 80,000 members, so maybe they'll look at that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We're probably getting ticket revenue when we go to WA, I guess. Let's take a break there, boys. We'll come back with the great man Paul Cousins, because there was some VFL action, because we played against Southport up on the Gold Coast. There was a bunch of random faces playing for the Bombers, but the great man Paul's going to join us, and we're going to talk a heap of shit about the VFL. Stick around, back after this. While we take a break from talking Bombers, Liquorland have been there for Don supporters from wooden spoons to finals wins. Did you know Liquorland has the new James Busby range? From a light Grenache to the classic Shiraz, they have something to suit your taste. Now, did you know in 1824, James Busby set sail for Australia, carrying with him vine cuttings for the new colony? Once he reached Australia, Busby planted his trimmings. The fruit of his obsession is still found growing in vineyards across Australia to this day.
That's quite a long-term strategy there, Rob. A lot of foresight from Mr. Busby. Do you think the Bombers are looking that far ahead?
Well, hopefully we're not waiting 200 years before we see a flag dame, but I reckon the future is looking promising. Now, remember, mate, you can sign up today and get $10 off your first purchase. Just visit liquorland.com.au with 30-minute click and collect also available. Please drink responsibly. T's and C's apply. See online for details. Alrighty, let's get back to the show. Welcome back. It's that time on a Monday for the VFL wrap with the great man, Paul Cousins, and it's bloody good to see some VFL football this weekend, Paul.
It was, mate, albeit from afar. It was nice to see the boys running around and some new faces, a few sort of vaguely familiar faces. So interesting weekend of footy, really.
Yeah, bit of a strange one, definitely for most of the fans watching on. But look, despite having a ragtag team of guys put together at the last minute, managed to only go down by 4 points and some good performances from a few lads.
Yeah, sensational effort by the group, really. I mean, Southport are actually a really good side there, at the pointy end of the table. And, we're playing them on their home deck with a group that essentially got sort of thrown together 2 days before the game. So, to be that competitive, I think they were sort of pretty well held together by the AFL-listed guys who played a bit of footy together and, did quite well. And obviously Alex Rance coming up didn't hurt. He was sensational and rallied the troops pretty well. So Paddy McCartan kicked a couple for us up forward, and ironically we were due to play against him next week because he's playing VFL with the Swans. So weird times, but the boys acquitted themselves really well.
Very interesting times there, Paul. Now, Alex Rance, one of the greatest defenders of the modern era. I'm sure a lot of the young defenders would have loved the opportunity to play with Rance and pick his brains.
Yeah, I think there was some good footage of Alex sort of imparting a bit of his wisdom, out on the field in a couple of game breaks and with a couple of our young defenders. I saw a clip of him at one point with Cody Brand, just sort of taking him through some defensive positioning and stuff. And that stuff's invaluable. Michael Hurley was one of our assistant coaches as well, who obviously also knows a fair bit about the defensive caper. So having guys like that around a group, those young guys really look up to and admire those guys for obvious reasons, but B, the practical knowledge that they can impart is, it's stuff that gets learned over a 10 or 15 year career, that these guys are sort of getting the inside track on pretty early on. So, yeah, it was great for us.
Now, before we talk about the Essendon listed players, Pauls, was there any of the ring-ins that might have caught your eye on the day who knows, maybe one day could end up in the program?
There was a kid called Ethan Hunt who went pretty well, but I'm actually more interested in the fact that his name was Ethan Hunt and I could make Mission Impossible jokes every week. So I'm looking to get him signed, sealed and delivered as quickly as I think he's a local Queensland boy, so he'd have to move down, but that's a small price to pay for me to be able to make those gags on a weekly basis. So mission accepted for Mr. Hunt. Other than that, there were a few guys who really played really well, a couple particularly through the midfield, and I'm taking the P155 with Ethan Hunt a bit, but he actually played really well. And I think he's actually a Southport boy. I think he's from the area where we played against their side. So there were definitely some guys who acquitted themselves pretty well. I think there are a couple of Victorian expats too, who you never know, if they're around the state next year, that might sort of be the leg up they need to, or the look that we need at those guys to have a crack at recruiting a few of them. So, it's a good exercise for that.
Absolutely, Paul. Now, Alec Waterman's one who's obviously just been brought back down to VFL level, had a fair bit of time in the seniors and a bit of time at VFL as well. I saw he had a game-high 10 tackles this week, and it's obviously something that it seems as a club we're really focusing on. Can you talk to us a bit about his game? Was he playing up forward? Was he kind of playing in a forward defensive role? Was he playing through the midfield? Or just, talk us through his game a little bit.
Yeah, look, it looked like he got both through the midfield and with some time forward. So he's got, for a bloke who, is quite a heavy build, and everyone talks about the tree trunks for legs that he's got, but he's actually got quite a reasonable tank for a sort of, for a solid guy. And so he is able to get up through the midfield and sort of, I think, I excited you blokes one time previously when I said he could sort of play that burst role a bit like Stringer.
Yes.
Like Paco, and I swear you guys went on about Paco for about the next 20 minutes, I think. So we'll probably just cut that off.
It is Paco's podcast, Paul. So
I'm well aware, boys. But no, he does have that sort of that burst power ability if he can get into the midfield. he can crack open a few packs and he can actually burst away. And because he's got such a cannon of a leg, he can be really dangerous if he can get the footy sort of running towards our goal out of the middle. So I think that's something that they'll probably look to do a bit more with him is probably get him through the middle a little bit more. Provided his tank's going okay and his body's holding up. It's worth bearing in mind with Alec that he's probably a fair way ahead of schedule as far as, he didn't expect to be in a VFL program this year. And he as we know, he's coming back from a really debilitating sort of 18 months, I think, with glandular fever. So, it wouldn't surprise if he started to sort of wear down a little bit late in the season probably. But, I think if they can get him through the midfield a bit more, they'll probably look to do that, particularly at VFL level with a view to, taking that up to the next level as well. So, he's a bit of a weapon through there. He probably just needs to find a bit more footy.
Yeah, I really agree with you there, Paul. I feel like he plays a funny kind of role, and I think it's probably a benefit of really his size and the fact that he's a bit of a mature age recruit. He's not old by any means, but if you look at him one-on-one, he's hard to beat in the marking contest up forward, and his lateral movement through the midfield seems incredible to me when he's actually had a crack at that in the AFL. Where do you see his role perhaps in the long term? Like, do you think he'll be forever that interchangeable up forward and perhaps through the guts kind of midfielder if he gets a chance? Or what do you see his development as?
Yeah, I do. Look, there'd be a temptation, I think, to see how he went off a half-back because of his leg, because he's got that really flat, hard attacking kick.
Yeah.
So there would be a temptation, I think, for the coaching group at some point to see how he goes behind the footy in that sort of setup role. Almost like if you hark back to sort of how BJ played for us a bit a few years ago, when he sort of, would almost become the designated kicker behind the ball, would probably lacked a little bit of ball use at times out of our back half. Ritz is fantastic with that. But, I wouldn't be surprised if they had a look at him back. But I suspect, he's got pretty good goal sense. He's a pretty natural sort of forward, albeit not a big one. But I do think he probably fits in a little bit to that sort of stringer type role, probably a little bit less on ball time than Stringer's been having, and a little bit more forward. But I do think he can get up through the midfield as well. And, you've really got to be able to play a couple of roles in footy now. And I think they'll, particularly if he stays in the VFL for a little while, I think they'll probably look to increase his on-ball time there and sort of work that into his game with a view to his AFL role.
And just on that, a couple of roles there, have you seen much of his, I guess, had much exposure to see what his kind of tank is like through the midfield? Do you think he could play a sustained role in the guts?
Yeah, as I said, he's more of a power athlete than a distance athlete, but his tank for a guy of his sort of really strong, solid build is actually pretty good from what I've seen. So I haven't seen him play. When the last sort of stint he had in the VFL a while ago now, a couple of months ago, he did have a game where he spent the majority of the day around the footy and around the middle of the ground, and he actually ran out the game really well. So, again, it wouldn't surprise me a little bit, if he started to wear down a little bit towards the end of the season, just given his background and sort of late getting into pre-season, late joining us and being sort of laid up for a lot of the past couple of years. It wouldn't surprise me if he starts to wear down a little bit. But, from what I've seen, his tank's actually, particularly for a guy his size, it's pretty good.
Now, some positive news on the weekend, Paul. Aaron Francis returned to competitive football after some time out. Now, I don't know how much light you can shed on this, but he did play forward. Do you know the reasoning behind that, and how's he going?
Yeah, I don't. only because I'm not up there.
Yep.
But I suspect, and it's speculation a little bit, well, sort of vaguely informed speculation, that it was as much a balance issue as anything else. I think with the guys we had come up, there was a lot of defenders.
Yeah.
And several sort of key defenders, which and probably we were short a key attacker or two. So whether it was by design with a view to his role in the AFL, I doubt it. I think they've been pretty happy with him down back, and pretty happy with the sort of balance of our back half when he's been in there, as he really plays that sort of second or third medium tall role. So, I think they're pretty keen to, well, certainly last time I spoke to him, any of the coaching group, I think they're pretty keen to keep him settled down back. So we'll see how that plays out. It was his first game back. It might have also had a little bit to do with sort of easing him back in a little bit after a few weeks away, but he was pretty effective forward. He took sort of, probably 5 or 6 contested marks and a couple of really nice ones. Kicked at least one. He might have ended up with 2, I'm not sure, but kicked the first one on the day and did some really nice things. So, he looked, he certainly looked like he was up and about and really involved and moving well from a physical standpoint. So I think they were all pretty positive signs for Big Frank.
That's a ton of contested marks as well for a bloke who's playing basically as a key forward.
Yeah, and look, and he's always had that ability. He's got a real clunk on him. So that I think that will have been the part that will have pleased him the most, regardless of which end of the ground he's playing at. So it was really positive, I think, for Aaron.
And a last player I want to pick up on for tonight, Paul, is Josh Eyre, obviously a promising player from the academy. We've spoken about him a bit earlier in the season, but how do you see his development coming along at this point?
Yeah, look, he started the season in the practice matches really well early on. I think he's a guy who obviously needs a fair bit of size put on his body. He's extremely sort of skinny, and whilst he's quite well put together, he's quite muscular, but he's just got no sort of body shape on him as yet. So I think he's probably started to wear down a little bit as the season's gone on, which isn't at all unusual, particularly, and we really need to remember with those guys who came in the end of last year that most of them didn't play any footy at all the previous year as well. So a lot of those guys will be starting to wear down, and I think we're sort of starting to see signs of that a little bit, both at sort of AFL and VFL level. But yeah, he's been, as I said, he showed some really good signs early as a key forward. They then sort of gave him the challenge of playing back. He sort of played back for probably our last 3 or 4 games, and actually been quite good. The one thing with Josh is that he needs to do is find more footy and find ways to sort of get involved a bit more. He's, probably the majority of his games this year, he would have had under sort of 10 possessions, and that's not that unusual for a key forward. Harry Jones has probably been pretty similar in the AFL, but he hasn't been able to sort of convert a lot of those possessions into scores, and he's probably needed to find a way to get involved a bit more through the game. So I think they're working pretty hard with him on his running patterns and just, not running for the sake of running, just running to positions where you can sort of be of assistance either to a teammate or to get the footy yourself or
of course.
Whatever. So I think it's, with these guys who didn't play last year, and particularly the more, I guess the rawer sort of guys coming out, there's a lot of development that you're trying to get into these guys in a really short period of time. And, with key forwards, and particularly Josh, who I know sort of grew very quickly, very late in life. So he hasn't actually been a really big guy for that much of his life. And that much of his sort of footy career. So he's got a fair bit of development to do, but certainly the physical attributes are all there. And, he's a really good, diligent kid who works really hard and sort of takes in the coaching group. They'll continue to get that development into him, but he's shown enough to certainly say that there's talent there to work with for sure.
Beautiful. Now, Paul, have we got any idea if there's going to be a game next or this coming weekend?
Look, there'll be a game. I have no idea when or where.
Okay. No exclusives?
It's going to depend on. Sadly, not. It'll be speculation exclusive.
Yeah, right.
It's going to depend on whether the AFL group get back, and if they play in Melbourne next week, the VFL will play in Melbourne next week. If they play in Queensland next week, the VFL
they've announced we're playing at the Gabba. They did during.
Oh, they have.
Yeah,
okay,
so playing the Gabba.
Yeah, cool. So, all right. So now I can open my lips a little more because I was told that they were playing up there a couple of days ago, but I didn't know if it had been confirmed or not.
Okay, what
happened? Come on, you give us the exclusive.
Hey, I give you exclusives, but not ones that get me in trouble when I say them. So,
right.
So I was told that the plan was for us to Saturday up there. Is that what?
Yeah, Saturday at the Gabba. Yep. Saturday at the Gabba.
Yeah. So I believe that being the case now, if that's been confirmed, then I believe that our VFL setup will be similar to this week.
Yep.
In that we'll play up there with our AFL listed guys and some fill-ins, I believe. So there's still a bit to play out on that, but I think. Last I was told, and again, it was a couple of days ago, and a couple of days at the moment, like everything's moving in dog years.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I think the plan is that we'll probably play up there, and then hopefully everyone gets back on Saturday night or Sunday, and we look ahead to hopefully getting back into some footy in Melbourne the week after.
Beautiful.
I'm surprised you didn't manage to get yourself up there as well, Paul. I would have thought somehow you would have weaseled yourself into an essential service or essential worker up there as a priest.
It's funny you say that because weaseling my way in is kind of my speciality. But unfortunately this time no one was having a bar of it.
Oh, no.
In fact, I sent our GM a message at one point when they were flying out saying, surely you need a president up there,
especially to the Gold Coast. Mate. This is
provide some real leadership for the next 3 weeks or so on the beach.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, no one would be in it.
Yeah.
So, in fact, last time we talked, I was like 2 days away from flying out to Cairns. As it turned out, my flight was 11 hours too late because lockdown happened the night before. So instead of sort of sunning myself in Cairns with cocktails, I've been stuck in my house in Mount Martha with the kids. So hasn't quite worked out according to plan. But anyway, these things happen.
That's the times, Paul. We're all certainly feeling it. But thanks for jumping on once again and giving us the lowdown on the VFL. And hopefully there's another game this weekend and we'll speak next Monday.
No worries, boys. Have a good one, eh?
You too, mate.
Paul.
Take care.
Cheers, Paul.
Beautiful stuff. The great man, Paul Cousin, as always, giving the lowdown on the VFL. Boys, we're going to wrap up for a Monday night. Damo, I can see you're hungry,
I reckon we should drink out for a bit.
Yeah.
It's so much fun.
Yeah. Let's do another hour.
I'm going to release Mert's address online just so everyone can go burn it.
Yeah.
Apparently Dylan Clark had a really good game on the weekend.
Dylan Clark, he did have a good game. But if you listen to our last pod with Paul, we had a very in-depth discussion about Dill, so I felt like he could have a week off for chats. Yeah.
Did you talk about Fatty McCartan? Kicked 3 goals.
He did kick 3 goals.
He plays for Sydney.
He plays for Sydney. I don't think we're going to pick him up. Now,
listeners, played for the Dons VFL on the weekend, though.
Yeah. Listeners, if you want to sign up and support the show, as Damo rears his ass over on YouTube, visit thehorde.com.
I forgot this goes to YouTube.
visit thehorde.com. Sign up and support the show just for $5 a month or $42 for the year. Heaps of content coming your way. You get an extra show each week. You get bonus interviews when we get them. And you're going to get off-season content as well. Stuff all year round, plus additional content that's not even about Essendon. So there's going to be some footy content coming in the off-season for all those Horde subscribers. But if you just want to support the show, that's where you do it. Find the link in the show bio or on our social media channels, or just visit thehorde.com. It's also an ad-free experience. So if you don't like me and Damo trying to poorly read an ads, you can get it ad free as well. So that's pretty good. Boys, thanks for being with me. Thanks, listeners. Damo, you got a great ass. Let's leave it there.
Thank you.
See everybody.
Thank you.
Right on.